Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari says May 29 handover sacrosanct. Akwa Ibom State Governor reiterates commitment to serving the people till the last day in office. Plus, Doden becomes UK Deputy Prime Minister. The details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is from Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has assured that the May 29 handover date remains sacrosanct, stating that he is looking forward to the completion of his second term when he will hand over power to the incoming president. Buhari, who spoke shortly after observing the Eid prayer in Abuja to mark the end of the 30-day Ramadan fasting by Muslims, said after the handover, he would be returning to his home in Daura, Katsina State, to give the next president space. In a related development, President Buhari has observed his last Salah festivities in the presidential villa. The event was the 9th and final Salah homage held at the presidential villa, Abuja. The president told dignitaries who thronged the seat of power that he cannot wait to go home after 8 years of being in the saddle of governing the country. Buhari, who was all smiles, described himself as being lucky to have led Nigeria in various capacities as governor, minister, head of state, and president. He commended residents of the FCT for being tolerant hosts in the last over 7 years. Meanwhile, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, CFR, has felicitated with members of the Armed Forces of Nigeria on this major Islamic festival of Eid al-Fitr, which marks the completion of 30 days fasting in the holy month of Ramadan. General Rabo's felicitations were contained in a statement by the Acting Director, Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukar Guzau. He congratulated all for successfully partaking in one of the cardinal pillars of Islam through fasting, prayers, and almsgiving in obedience to the divine command of the Almighty Allah. He further prayed to the Almighty God to accept the fasting and prayers and continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Still on the festivities, the Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) has joined Muslims in Nigeria and around the world to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. The religious body, in a statement signed by its president, Archbishop Daniel Oko, felicitates the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar III, and all Muslim faithful in the country. Oko urged Muslims to seize the moment to reflect on the lessons of Ramadan and its values. CAN also called on all Nigerians to use the Eid al-Fitr festival to pray for the country. In another development, Nigeria has called for a ceasefire in the ongoing war in Sudan between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). A spokesperson for Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Ministry, Francisca Omoyili, in a statement said the non-adherence to numerous international calls for a ceasefire has made the plight of civilians in Sudan worse. Omoyili also said it is in contact with the Sudanese authorities and through the Nigerian embassy in Khartoum, and has made an official request for permission to evacuate Nigerian students and other members of the Nigerian community who may wish to leave the war-torn country. Aviation matters. Air Peace Airlines has launched direct commercial flights between Nigeria and Israel 10 years after both countries signed a bilateral air transportation agreement. This comes in a bid to ensure that travelers can now enjoy a 5-hour direct flight instead of going through alternate routes, which is expected to boost tourism, academic, religious, and trade relations between the two countries. Meanwhile, former Minister of Foreign Affairs Professor Viola Nwaliri expressed her delight during a ceremony to mark the inaugural flight to Tel Aviv. The former Executive Secretary of Nigeria Christian Pilgrims Commission, Kennedy Okpara, also commended the efforts to open direct flights between the two countries. The Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Michael Freeman, also noted that both Nigeria and Israel will now enjoy the full benefits of the bilateral air transport agreement. Nigerians and Israelites now have easy ways of moving into both countries. Away from that now, the federal government says it is considering how best to achieve subsidy removal without disrupting livelihoods in Nigeria. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Gabriel Aduda, said this while briefing newsmen at the end of the Nigeria International Energy Summit. Aduda noted that the federal government was committed to subsidy removal, but could not be too specific until all indices were considered to ensure that the effect would not be harsh on average Nigerians. From the legislature now, where the management of the National Assembly, in conjunction with the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, has released dates for the induction of lawmakers-elect. The Secretary to the Subcommittee on Media and Publicity, Ali Umoru, said in a statement that the induction would hold in 2 batches. According to the statement, the induction is scheduled to commence from 7th through 13th of May 2023 with Batch A, while Batch B will hold from May 14th through May 20, 2023. The National Assembly noted that the objectives of the induction and inauguration exercise is to expose members-elect to the functions of the National Assembly, its practices and procedures, as well as the services available to them. In a separate development, the President-elect Bola Tinubu has submitted 14 names that would make up the composition of the Presidential Transition Committee (PTC) ahead of the May 29 inauguration. The committee is saddled with the task of planning the week-long inauguration activities that will usher in Tinubu and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima as President and Vice President of the country, respectively. This was disclosed in a letter submitted to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, with 6 weeks left for the handing-over ceremony. The development is coming few weeks after the President-elect nominated former Lagos State Finance Commissioner Wale Edun and Governor Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State into the committee. In the 14-member list of the PTC, the spokesman for the Tinubu-Shettima Presidential Campaign Council, Bayo Onanuga, will serve as head of media and publicity, while the current acting National Deputy Chairman North of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Abubakar Kyari, will coordinate and direct the committee's finance and budgets. On electoral matters now, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) today revealed that it is unaware of the whereabouts of its suspended resident electoral commissioner (REC) in Adamawa State, Yunusa Hudu Ari. It would be recalled that last Saturday, Ari caused a major controversy when he declared Aisha Benani of the All Progressives Congress (APC) winner of the Adamawa supplementary governorship election. Ari had declared Benani the winner of the supplementary election while INEC was yet to conclude the collation of results. But INEC countered Ari's declaration and announced Amadou Fintiri winner of the election after counting of results. However, INEC spokesman Festus Okoye said Ari had not picked up his call since the infamous action. Now in education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM) has urged all candidates sitting for the 2023 Main Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination to proceed to print their examination notification slip. The board gave the directive in a statement by its head, Public Affairs and Protocol, Fabian Benjamin, who said the notification slip would contain their examination center, time of examination, date of examination, and other essential details necessary for taking the 2023 UTME, which commences from Tuesday, 25th April 2023. The board noted that the information featured on the slip would enable candidates to easily locate their centers before the examination. It also enjoined candidates to locate their centers before the day of the examination so as not to arrive late at the examination center. In another development, the president of the Economic and Community of West African States, Omar Toure, has signed grant agreements with 15 training centers to build capacity on agroecology in member states. The total budget of the grant agreements funded by the European Union is over 1 million euros, representing about 88,000 euro per center, and for an average duration of 18 months, aimed at training 12,000 young persons in the region. This was contained in a statement made available by the Commission. According to the statement, the purpose of each grant is to establish the framework of collaboration between ECOWAS and the recipient center for the implementation of the program activities in West Africa, with the general objective of building the human resource and environmentally friendly system that will sustain and increase agricultural productivity and create resilient rural society. Back here now, Akwa Ibom State Governor Damimanio today led his Bayelsa counterpart Governor Doye Diri, amongst other top government officials, to the official commissioning of the 12.5 kilometers Ikoroku-Song Road with Spore in Ukanafan local government area. Speaking during the event, Governor Emmanuel said the project is in fulfillment of his promises to the people. A correspondent completes this report.
Thank you very much.
Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel has reiterated his commitment to serving the people till his very last day in office on May 29, 2023. The governor, who gave the assurances again during the commissioning of the 12.5 kilometers Ikorakwan Afari Koroku Usong Road with Spore in Ukanafon local government area, reassured that the project is in fulfillment of his completion agenda promises to the people. Governor Emmanuel again said rural communities in the state will continue to reap the dividends of their support to his administration and the People's Democratic Party in the recently concluded elections, as more rural development projects await commissioning.
But as I'm leaving, I'm not too happy, because I put everything in place that when I come today, I'll commission the General Hospital in Ukanafon. But we have a very stubborn contractor. But I want to assure the Ukanafon people that before I sign off from the office, I will leave the money to complete our hospital with the Ministry of Health untouched. Untouched. I want to assure you the money to complete that hospital will be left in an escrow account with the Ministry of Health before I leave office.
In a related development, Akwa Ibom State Governor Damimanio says his administration has put measures in place to ensure a smooth and seamless take-off of the incoming government in the state. Governor Emmanuel stated this while receiving the Transition and Handover Notes Drafting Committee report at the Executive Council Chambers Government House. The governor also pledged his continuous support and willingness to give explanations on any issue that the incoming administration may need clarity for smooth running of the state government. Governor Emmanuel, who described the committee's report as detailed and accurate, commended the members' due diligence and timeliness in delivering the report. He assured that he will give detailed account of all income accrued to the state during his administration and how the funds were expended. Earlier, the chairman of the committee, Ekarabong Moore, thanked Governor Emmanuel for finding her and the team worthy to serve and for allowing them free hand to review government operations in all ministries, departments and agencies in the state within the period. She assured that the report will go a long way in helping the incoming government. The Government House correspondent January reports that the present administration in the state is expected to hand over to a new government on May 29, 2023. Meanwhile, residents of Akwa Ibom State have been urged to avoid stagnant water, which can breed mosquitoes, and keep their environment clean to prevent malaria during this wet season. The Senior Registrar, Department of Family Medicine, University of Uyo Teaching Hospital UUTH, Dr. Ekemini Udi, made this known during an interview with Spectrum Television. Udi said during the wet season there is a reduced immunity in both children and adults, which give room to acquiring bacterial and other viral infections causing flu, diarrhea, among others. She added that a clean environment, regular hand washing and medical checkup are some of the preventive measures taken to avoid bacterial infections during the wet season.
That comes with the rainy season. You have reduced immunity. So people that are susceptible are mostly children and maybe the pregnant women and those that are already, they have other infections. So with that, their immunity is reduced. So the bacteria and sometimes viral infection will get through to them and then causing cold. So most of them, you see them having running nose and catarrh and then fever. Those are the symptoms that you see those with flu come down with. Another major disease that comes with the rainy season is the diarrhea. Now, diarrhea is very common because of the contaminated water and food. So during the rainy season, you see that most times the environment, the rain washes those things to the source of water that people take in. So you see that they come down with diarrhea a lot. Another disease that is common during the rainy season is malaria. We all know that mosquito breeds around stagnant water. So during the rainy season, we have a whole lot of things that encourages the mosquito to breed. Now, preventing malaria is one, trying to keep our environment clean, clearing the bushes around us, and then we should avoid keeping containers that stores water for a long time, because that will serve as a breeding point for the mosquitoes to breed. And then during this season, people don't like sleeping under the mosquito nets. I tell you, it's very good. Have personal hygiene. Now, when you're preparing your food, you know that flies, dirty water, and all of those can lead to you having diarrhea. So you try to prepare your food in a clean environment. You wash all your utensils. And then another major thing that helps during this rainy season is good hand washing. Try to wash your hand before you touch food or fruit, anything that comes into your mouth. You wash it, and after eating, you also wash. When you get to the restroom, you wash.
Still to come in the news. National Bureau of Statistics to release new unemployment figure by May 2023. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Good morning, Nigeria. Year after year, they have informed, educated, and entertained us. When you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be
be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at the Hotel and Suites for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and excellence in the broadcast media. Voting starts on 20th April and ends on 4th May 2023. Visit www.tnbawards.ng to vote now. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, Bonn.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigeria. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security.
Education, health,
Lifestyle and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyeken on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Staying tuned, we move on now to Africa, where the United Nations Migration Agency said that a staff member had been killed in fighting in southern Sudan today when his vehicle was caught in crossfire. The humanitarian worker with the International Organization for Migration is the fourth UN member of staff killed since fighting erupted in Sudan on Saturday. Reports say 3 employees of the World Food Programme were killed in the North Darfur region of eastern Sudan. In a related development, Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF said it had agreed to a 72-hour truce on humanitarian grounds effective 6 a.m. local time today, offering a potential respite from a 6-day military conflict with the Sudanese army. The capital, Khartoum, was rocked by bombing and shelling earlier today. There was no immediate comment from the army, and its chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, did not mention a ceasefire in a pre-recorded speech posted on the army's Facebook page. According to the RSF, in a statement, the truce coincides with the blessed Eid al-Fitr Muslim holiday to open humanitarian corridors to evacuate citizens and give them the opportunity to greet their families. Recall that fighting between the RSF and Sudan's army erupted on Saturday, derailing an internationally backed plan for a transition to a civilian democracy 4 years after the fall of Islamist autocrat Omar al-Bashir to mass protests and 2 years after a military coup. In the meantime, unknown gunmen stormed a house and killed 10 members of a family today in the latest mass shooting to rock crime-ridden South Africa. The police said 7 women and 3 men were fatally wounded in Mbali, a township south of Pietermaritzburg in the southeastern province of KwaZulu-Natal. The motive for the killing was not immediately clear. According to reports, Police Minister Becky Cele was due to visit the crime scene. Meanwhile, mass shootings are relatively common in South Africa, which has one of the world's highest murder rates. So in Africa, the South African police has evicted more than 100 asylum seekers camping for over 3 years outside the UN High Commissioner for Refugees offices in Pretoria. Reports say the scores of asylum seekers began living in makeshift tents pitched outside the UNHCR offices, asking to be relocated to other countries after a spate of xenophobic violence in 2019. Pretoria municipality last week secured a high court order to remove them. Scores of police officers, led by the Sheriff's Department, carried out the eviction with the aid of immigration and other officers. Using a loud hailer, State Attorney Cobus Major warned the migrants that they will be arrested. The separate development, Guinea-Bissau has reportedly suspended 5 out of the 7 magistrates under the military prosecutor for refusing to handle the case of the 1st February 2022 attempted coup d'etat. It added that the 5 magistrates stopped going to work on 13th April after presenting themselves to the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Birg Nantan. Meanwhile, the magistrates have said that the case was not within their jurisprudence and should be handled by the civil courts. Recall that in February last year, unidentified gunmen stormed the government palace and held the president and prime minister hostage for over 6 hours before the military ended the siege. 18 suspects have since been charged in connection with the incident. The foreign scene, the European Union today said it was planning for a possible evacuation of its citizens from Khartoum when security allows, as armed clashes rage in the Sudanese capital. The official said the EU and the 7 member states with missions in Sudan, including France, Germany, and Italy, were looking at getting the estimated 1,500 EU nationals trapped in Khartoum out by road because the airport was closed. Reports further say it would require a 3-day ceasefire to carry out such an operation. Still on the foreign scene, the British government has named Oliver Dowden as the country's deputy prime minister today. He replaced Dominic Raab, who resigned today following a case of bullying staff during his time in government. According to reports, Raab, who also quit as Justice Secretary, said in a resignation letter he felt duty-bound to accept the outcome of the inquiry, but added that it dismissed all but 2 of the claims leveled against him. In the meantime, environmental campaign group Extinction Rebellion today began 4 days of action in London, promising less disruption and more inclusion than the mass blockade that became its trademark. According to reports, ESA has in recent years caused huge disruption, hitting roads, airports and other public transport networks with direct action protests against climate change. But in January, it called a temporary halt to its high-profile demos and instead promised to mobilize huge numbers against what it sees as government inaction against global warming. Meanwhile, the group hopes that 100,000 people will gather outside Parliament this weekend, and so far has said it has seen 30,000 people register their interest. In the meantime, police have arrested Robert Louis Singletree, the suspect accused of shooting a 6-year-old girl and her parents in North Carolina after a basketball rolled into his yard. Gaston County, North Carolina police spokesperson Adam Garb said Singletree is in custody in Hillsborough County, Florida. Reports say the jail records revealed that the 24-year-old Singletree was arrested on Thursday afternoon, ending a manhunt in which police described the suspect as armed and dangerous. The suspect surrendered himself to authorities, according to a statement, and did not have any identification on him. Still on the foreign scene, the French government will continue subsidizing electricity bills into 2025 as prices suffer from Russia's invasion of Ukraine and part of the country's nuclear reactor fleet remaining offline. This was disclosed in a statement by the Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire, who said with bills still very high compared to late 2021, he is giving the country 2 years to end electricity subsidies by early 2025. Meanwhile, state-owned energy firm EDF produced its lowest amount of electricity in 30 years last year, as many nuclear reactors with energy prices mounting. Recall that the finance minister had on Thursday said it was time to cut public spending in order to speed up debt reduction. Elsewhere, the United States hosted a meeting in Germany today to discuss further support for Ukraine after President Volodymyr Zelensky pushed Western allies to send more fighter jets and long-range missiles. According to reports, representatives from around 50 countries gathered at the U.S. Ramstein Air Base to coordinate their backing for Kyiv. Meanwhile, the Kremlin said today it did not plan a new mobilization drive for its military operation in Ukraine, amid media reports that students were being served draft notices. It would be recalled that last week Putin signed off on legislation to create a digital draft system that could bar men from leaving the country amid Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. Now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blyden Ukem.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is business news and my name is Blyden Ukem. In the news, the National Bureau of Statistics has said it will release new unemployment and employment figures for Nigeria by May 2023. It disclosed this in a report titled Nigeria Labor Force Framework Redesign 2023. It noted that the report will cover data collected from from October 19, 2022 to January 22, 2023. This has taken a long time, and it means that comparisons with previous labor market data in Nigeria will not be possible. However, this places Nigeria's labor market statistics on more sustainable footing going forward. Still in Nigeria, the Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems has revealed that the value of e-payment transactions rose to 135.52 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2023. This represents a 298% increase year-on-year compared to 34.04 trillion naira in the same period last year. According to reports, the increase in electronic transactions can be maintained. The NIPS data further revealed that the volume of e-payment transactions surged by 984% to 4.7 billion in the first quarter of 2023 from 433.4 million in the first quarter of 2022. Looking at the banks and their transactions, 8 banks made 224.69 billion naira from electronic banking fees as cashless transactions rose to 395.47 trillion naira in 2022. Data analyzed from the financial reports of the banks showed that they grew their e-banking income by 9.26% year-on-year from 205.64 billion naira in 2021 to 224.69 billion naira in 2022. According to reports, this is happening as more Nigerians continue to adopt electronic forms of payment, with total cashless transaction rising by 42.05% year-on-year in 2022. The banks are Access Holdings PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, Wema Bank PLC, Union Bank of Nigeria PLC, United Bank for Africa PLC, Guarantee Trust Holdings Company and subsidiary companies, and Jazz Bank PLC. The Nigerian Stock Exchange is on holiday. This is all on Business News. Happy Eid al-Fitr.
Many thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. Fritz earns comeback win in Munich debut. Do stay with us. Now in health, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF in its report has revealed that about 67 million children partially or fully missed routine immunization globally between 2019 and 2021 due to lockdowns and healthcare disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The report showed that more than a decade of hard-earned gains in routine childhood immunization has been eroded, stating that getting back on track will be challenging. Recall that before the introduction of a vaccine in 1963, measles killed approximately 2.6 million people each year, but the percentage of children vaccinated against measles fell from 86% to 81%, and the number of cases in 2022 doubled compared to 2021. The UNICEF therefore called on governments to double down on their commitment to increasing financing for immunization, with special attention on accelerating catch-up vaccination efforts for those who missed their shots. Still in health, the United Nations Development Programme UNDP has urged those living in Abuja and adjoining communities to curtail the reckless disposal of plastic in the city. The UNDP, in partnership with Pearl's Learning Hub, a capacity development initiative, warned that if plastic waste is not curbed, it may derail the Sustainable Development Goals as a whole. The Chief Executive Officer of the Hub, Ibukun Odusote, while speaking at the project opening event, noted that the careless disposal of plastics is causing great harm to the environment, food sources, and to health. In sports, Taylor Fritz continued his strong start to the European clay court season with a debut win at the BMW Open. The American backed up his run to the Monte Carlo semi-finals with a 4-6, 6-3, 6-3 victory against Martin Fucsovics to advance to the quarterfinals of the Munich ATP 250. Fritz improved to 29-25 on clay courts with a win, with a 4-1 mark this season. Reports say the second seed will seek his 30th career victory on the dirt against either Dominic Thiem or 8th seed Marc-Andre Huesler on Friday. Meanwhile, the American, who reached a career-high Pepperstone ATP ranking of number 5 in February, entered Munich as the world number 10. He is seeking his second title of 2023 after his triumph on home soil in Delray Beach. Still in sports now, Nick Nurse has been evicted from the Toronto Raptors' hot seat 4 years on from leading the franchise to their first NBA championship. According to reports today, Coach Nurse has left the team in the wake of their failure to reach the playoffs. Nurse was fired 9 days on from the Raptors, losing 109-105 to the Chicago Bulls in their play-in game. Nurse, whose Raptors finished the regular season with a 41-41 record for 9th place in the Eastern Conference, has been touted as a candidate to take charge of the Houston Rockets. In the meantime, Deontay Wilder has promised to knock out Anthony Joshua in a proposed heavyweight bout against the British Nigerian in Saudi Arabia. The two former heavyweight champions are widely reported to be in discussions for what would be one of the most fiercely anticipated fights in recent years. Joshua is on the lookout for a new opponent after recovering from back-to-back defeats to Alexander Usyk, with victory over Jermaine Franklin earlier this month, while Wilder beat Robert Helenius in October after consecutive losses to Tyson Fury. According to reports, both fighters to work their way up the rankings to earn another shot at the titles, and with the pair having history with Fury and Usyk, a meeting in the ring is a favored option for many fans. Meanwhile, should a blockbuster clash in Saudi Arabia occur, Wilder is confident he would see off Joshua with a knockout. In football, Chelsea's managerial search has taken a dramatic twist after Julian Nagelsmann pulled out of the race to take over the Stamford Bridge club. The Londoners were informed that Nagelsmann no longer wished to be conceded, having grown frustrated with the process. While Chelsea have maintained there was no favourite for the job and the hunt was open, Nagelsmann was widely considered the leading contender and the preferred candidate of key figures among the Stamford Bridge hierarchy. However, Chelsea, which held face-to-face talks with Nagelsmann last week, have been keen to carry out a thorough search involving discussions with a number of candidates. Reports say the club are thought to have been skeptical about the 35-year-old German, and sources say he was not their first choice. It is also believed he wanted to be appointed rather than go through the wider process. On entertainment, the story of Varian Fry, a US journalist who helped over some 2,000 of Europe's imperiled artists, writers, and refugees escaped from Nazi-occupied Europe, has inspired the new Netflix series Transatlantic. The new Netflix series Transatlantic dramatizes the short but intense period of Fry's life when he helped found the Emergency Rescue Committee and enabled hundreds of illustrious writers, artists, and refugees flee Vichy France. According to reports, Varian Fry enamored by European artists and writers, first traveled to Berlin in 1935 as a bookish and scholarly young journalist. But instead of finding high culture, he witnessed firsthand the violence meted out by fascist thugs in the streets of the German capital, beating and bloodying Jewish women and men, later writing that the police did not make any effort to save the victims from the brutality, instead trying to clear the area for cars to get through. Still on entertainment, Drake Bell's wife, Janet Von Schmeling, has filed for divorce after 4 years of marriage. This development comes on the heels of the actor's disappearance for days before being found. Reports say she filed for divorce earlier in the day and cited irreconcilable differences as a reason for the split. She also sought custody of their 2-year-old son, Wyatt, with Bell, however, said to be given the right to visit their child. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, singer-songwriter Rika Sani has released 2 new singles. Rika Sani today released Amina and The One as he prepares for the release of his 3rd album. Rika Sani's artistic vision is on full display as he blends different genres and styles seamlessly, from soulful R&B to uplifting Afrobeat, while maintaining a sound that is unmistakably his own. In an interview with newsman, Rika Sani revealed that he was working on his 3rd album and that listeners can expect exciting music. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. You have a terrific night rest and a happy weekend. Bye-bye.